baby. What up? We go.
Get that shirt out.
Sharing for you. Dogs. That's
all right. I'm ready when you are.
Starting early with the Celsius, huh? It's not early for you. It's early for me.
Well, I don't drink coffee, so.
Fair. If I didn't drink coffee, I'd probably be dead by now.
Yeah, it's not really a thing for me. I don't really like hot drinks.
I can't type today. I can't even type.
You fat fingering it?
I'm all over the place. We're getting to the point of the year where it's gone from like 100 degrees to like, we're back to normal. So in the mornings it's cold in here.
Yeah.
Fingers aren't working right. Not fired up yet. Are we 57? That's crazy.
Yep.
All right. Shared that. Okay. All right. Let's get it.
Hit it.
Let's hit it. See if I actually remember to hit this on the way out.
You hit it twice the last time. Welcome, everybody, to episode 57 of the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast. I am JO7 TV, joined, as always, by the homie Sub1 KD. What's good, man?
Not much. You know what? I got to say that jingle is banging. Like, I still liking it year on. Thanks to your buddy Open Mike for throwing that together for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, he's releases new music periodically on Spotify and some of the other platforms. So every once in a while, like during stream, I'll pull up some of his classic bangers.
Nice, love it.
But how was your week, dude?
Week was good. I mean, obviously in the Twitter space, it got busy. Work got busy. Everything got busy all at once, which was nice. Put off being able to work on the garage, on the office much, but I think I'm going to try and do that this week before Black Ops 6. So maybe I'll have some walls behind me on launch day. That's my goal. If I can have some walls up, I don't know if I'll have them painted or decorated, but they'll be there. And then, otherwise getting ready. Just getting ready for launch day. Told the wife I'm not available in the morning till probably after lunch on Friday, so she'll have to deal. I don't think she's going to complain too much. But that's what's going on. How was your week?
Week was relatively low key, man. I was local this week. It kind of flew by, really, if I'm being honest. And then it got busy on Twitter, that's for sure. And I was able to get some games in, some solo, some quads, some duo quads. My
nice.
2-box is not working properly in solos. I don't know why, but yeah. So I ran some quads last night. It was pretty fun,
Sweet.
Man. I'm getting ready for Black Ops 6 as well. We have 6 days left basically. And I already told my wife, I'm like, I am a fucking ghost to you. I don't exist. You don't see me. I said, I might get up and help you and get the kids off to school. But after that, like, I don't exist. But, it actually works out because she has a show that's a little south of Dallas on Saturday. So she's going to drive down Friday, get set up, and stay at an Airbnb. So it actually works out. I may be starting a little bit later than I had hoped. There's also possibility that one of my homies is maybe knocking the dust off the stream setup and streaming. Ooh. And if that's the case, that changes pretty much my plans, at least for a while. Because I'm not going to miss that. But other than that, man, I'm pretty excited about it, dude. But you know what I'm not excited about? Is what's been happening this week, brother.
Jeez, this week's been wild. It's been wild, man. I haven't seen a week like this in a minute. Probably, gosh, when was the last time we had something this crazy going? I don't know if we've ever had a week like this, have we?
Not since, not that I can think of, not on Warzone and Call of Duty.
I mean, straight up, anybody who's not paid attention, maybe you were on vacation or you just have not hit up COD Twitter much. So earlier this week, there's a character on Twitter named Zebler. Yeah, Zebler.
I don't know how you say it.
Somebody will get me a pronunciation one of these days. Till then, I do what I want. The guy named Zebler, who was kind of uncovered by a friend of the pod, Caps Lock, who was Former guest of ours. We might have him back on again. We're kind of talking to him about it. But he did a deep dive into cheating, and one of the people that he was able to get in contact with was the owner and lead developer of the cheat provider Phantom Overlay, and his name is Zebler, right? Probably not his given name, but that's what he goes by online. And so after that conversation, he kind of like emerged on Twitter and pops in and out occasionally to discuss cheating from a cheat developer standpoint, which is one of those things that is really bizarre. It's kind of and I mean that in kind of like a good way, because here you have someone who does something we all despise, and going forward, I want to be really clear on where we stand on this. Like, we despise cheating, we oppose it, we hate everything about cheating, and we would like to see every cheat company go under. But we also have this guy named Zebler who is on Twitter and openly talking about developing cheats and what his cheats can and can't do, and helping us as players understand what we're looking at, which is a weird position to be in, because it's good for us to know these things, right? We as players have lived for so long in the realm of no idea what cheaters actually do, because cheaters, we don't associate with them, right? We don't hang out with them. We don't use their cheats. We don't really know what cheats can do because we don't see them. From their point of view, we just see sus stuff that happens to us, and we come up with all these ideas of magic, flying, teleportation, bullet crashing, server deletion things, right? Like, we just, like, you ask what's going on and what's cheats, and people have no idea. So from an educational standpoint, this guy has been really helpful for the community to understand what is and isn't possible with cheats, and what's what's real and what's not. And so it's kind of like it's like studying the enemy, right? Like, you spend some time learning what the enemy is doing, and therefore you can recognize it on the battlefield, right? That's our position on this, right? Where we don't support him and his work, but we are interested to learn what he knows, because that it's helpful to us, right?
Well, we would be doing our community or our audience a disservice if we didn't try to get as much information from the source as possible. And, again, I want to reiterate what you just said. We don't agree with cheating in any way. We don't agree with the companies that make them, sell them, those kind of things. And we would like to see those companies go out of business at some point, sooner rather than later. But, I think it's an overall good thing for the community, for us to understand, and for Activision to kind of understand too what's going on. Because clearly, dude, I'm going to be real. Whatever they're doing ain't working, bro. It just isn't, man. I mean, listen, the cheaters don't get a pass. They don't. They're part to blame too. But let's you got to look at Activision, right? Like, each title makes $1 billion, right? Like, each title has made $1 billion over the last few years, if I'm not mistaken. So like, you're telling me they can't invest more money in their anti-cheat than what they do? But yet, again, like we talked about a few weeks ago, every roadmap they have likely starts with the fucking store, and then everything else is built around that. And yes, before anybody says anything, I'm fully aware that these are different teams. My point is it just shows where the priority is as far as resource allocation.
Yeah. So
I'll get off my soapbox.
Your soapbox grows every week. Yeah. So anyways, this guy Zebler has been floating around for probably about 5 or 6 months now. And here's where I will state this. He's been very open with anybody who asks him respectfully questions about cheats, and he's been willing to discuss the capabilities and the limitations of his software, and generally Ricochet's strengths and weaknesses. So to that end, it's been kind of a wild ride to hear. But this week, so why is that relevant? Well, this week he made a post, and kind of blew up COD Twitter and made a mess of things. And it's wild. This story is wild. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you should probably back it up and talk about the week before with what happened with like Bobby and stuff like that, because it ties into the story.
Yeah. So all right. Anybody who pays any attention on Twitter to things like cheats or nefarious software or whatnot, just even casually, Twitter will probably feed you a Twitter page called VX Underground, and VX Underground is basically a repository. They try and collect all the different malicious software out there and kind of all the cheats and 0 days and hacks and things that are out there in the wild, and put them all in one place so that researchers can have an idea of what's going on. And, we can all, so that, there's like a knowledge base of like, all right, what's the dangerous software out there? What's going on? So they actually, all the way back in the beginning of October, they made mention that they have a rumor or information that there's a gaming 0 day hack coming out, and it's going to be released eventually. And that they've heard about this thing, and that it's probably real, but it won't affect anything outside of gaming. So I saw that and said, whatever. And then shortly after that, a listener and supporter of the podcast, Nuke Jesus, got banned, and there was a big hubbub about that. And we saw a lot of stuff with that going back and forth. And then shortly after that, another streamer named Bobby Poff got banned live on stream. And he was really, he's a big name. He's been at COD Next. Was he in World Series of Warzone? He was not. No, he's but he's a big content creator, very, very well liked by a lot of people, and definitely a part of the scene at that upper echelon of it. And so but he got banned live, and so there was a lot of conversation about what could have happened. I made a video on it. A lot of people made videos about it, and the conversation centered around what was he doing, right? Was he sharing accounts? Did he tool his account? Was he actually cheating the whole time? Which I think a lot of people agreed would be wild because, he wasn't very good. All things considered.
Better than average people, but not as good as like the,
but
Prags or those guys.
in the circles that he
right.
was in, like he was not up there, right? So it was kind of a weird, if he was cheating, like he had, several people had said if he was cheating, he bought like the worst cheats on earth. He needed to get his money back.
Jeez, Pete.
So he got banned, and then everybody was very confused because like this was a weird thing. And around the same time, there were a number of other bans that happened, and there was a detection of some account resellers, like cheating account resellers, and tools. Account tooling. So a lot of assumptions went down the road that he was banned because his account he tooled his account, or he paid someone to, I put my chips on, he paid someone to level his account, and they used tools to do it, to take the easy way out. And that got detected and he got banned for it. And then fast forward to last week, right? All of this hubbub, it's been busy. Nuke Jesus actually got his account back in the meanwhile, which was kind of like, people were not being supportive of that, which was interesting. It was an interesting scenario, but people assumed that he had some kind of workaround. And then Zebler makes this post. He makes the first post of the week where he says that a new exploit has been identified that will allow anybody to permanently ban anybody else's account. And he lists a couple of names that he lists a couple of accounts that he got banned through this exploit as a proof of function. For anybody that doesn't know what a proof of function is, it's where you have an exploit or you have a cheat or a hack or something, and you want to prove that it's real, so you execute it in a very limited manner, right? Where you're very clear about, I'm going to make this thing happen, then you make the thing happen, right? And he makes this post, and sure enough, of the names on there, it's Nuke Jesus, it was Bobby Poff, it was Parasite, and it was Censor. And within hours, Censor and Parasite revealed that they had been shadow banned the day before and permanently banned that day, which was kind of crazy because he's 4 for 4 on bans. Very interesting thing to say. And then he says that he has discovered this through the person that created it, and because this tool is incredibly dangerous, he's going to reveal the inner workings of it through support of the individual that discovered it and created the hack. And he will release that information the next day. This was day before yesterday, right?
Yeah, something like
17th,
that.
right? So yeah, day before yesterday. So so he makes these statements, and this was in the afternoon on, I think, Wednesday, and everybody's just losing their mind. And over the course of the next morning, all of the accounts that were permanently banned that he named become unbanned. Censor got his account back. Parasite got his account back. Bobby Poff got his account back. And as we said, Nuke Jesus had already gotten his back previously. So, all of these accounts had been banned and then unbanned in a very short amount of time, which was very unlike Activision. Activision has stood by their statement that if they ban an account permanently, that is a legitimate ban, that ban is real. And so when they banned, when that happened, it was shocking, and people kind of got into an uproar because if after all of the rigmarole that Bobby had gone through, to give his account back meant that this was kind of an indication that this was true. And then about 12:45 in the afternoon on, I believe, Thursday, the Activision, the COD Updates Twitter released an update and stated that they had uncovered an exploit allowing accounts to be acted upon, and had fixed the exploit and reversed the small number of accounts that had been affected. And then about 2 hours later, Zebler released his statement and the explanation for it. And I will be honest, I was ready to kind of read through it, wrap my head around it, understand how it worked, and then release a video explaining it in layman's terms. And that video was completely unnecessary because this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It is so stupid. And I can tell you exactly how it happened from a development standpoint, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it is so dumb, people don't believe it's real because it's that dumb. But it's so dumb that I look at it and I go, oh, I know exactly why this is real, and I believe it 100% because it is something every developer was taught to do from day one.
Which
Crazy.
is?
So the way the exploit works is when Ricochet identifies an account that is cheating, they detect something, right? They put a flag on the account, and then they have a sweep through, and I'm assuming when they place the flag on the account, the account goes into a shadow ban state, and then from the shadow ban state, then they go through and they do their review and permanently ban the account or release it, right? And so because this flag is specifically denoted that it was a Ricochet detection, the manual review is almost certainly somebody gets a batch report of all of the accounts that receive the flag in whatever time period they're looking at, and they just say select all, ban. Okay, that is almost certainly how this manual review works. Okay, so the way that they put the flag on the account is, in your game, when you're logged into your game, everything that happens happens in your RAM. Okay, that's why it's a very RAM intensive game. So the more RAM you have, the smoother things run for you. And so everything happens in the RAM. Every conversation you have through text chat, through whispers, every friend request, every all of the telemetry goes into the RAM. Everything goes into the RAM, and then the RAM kind of sorts it out and sends it where it needs to go. The flag that they have is actually a literal text string. It's literally a string of text characters that resolves to the phrase trigger bot. So literally the game Ricochet writes trigger bot into your RAM, and then it goes through and says everybody who has TriggerBot in their RAM gets banned. That's how Ricochet is designed. That's how it works. And normally that's not a big deal, except for the fact that someone figured out that it stores things like usernames and whisper messages and in-game text chat messages. It stores all that in basically the same place. And so if you are to put the word TriggerBot into somebody's account through either sending them a message or posting it in the game chat or setting your account name to TriggerBot and then friend requesting them, that when Ricochet does its sweep, it will see the word TriggerBot and it will flag your account. And they had no way of telling, like they had no system to determine where that word came from. It just shows up where it's supposed to be and gets flagged. And that was the cheat. That's the hack. It's that simple. And it blew my mind. Like I couldn't wrap my head around how poorly thought out that was. The reason why it would be that simple is you have to think about software, right? The more complex things are, the more resources it takes to run them, right? So if you are going to encrypt something, you have to encrypt it. You have to store the key for the encryption somewhere. So you have to fetch. So every time you want to run it, you have to fetch the key for encryption. You have to use the key to encrypt or decrypt whatever you're sending or receiving. Then you have to translate it. Then you have to do the process, and then you have to re-encrypt the response and send the response back over. And there's steps and there's processes involved, right? So for something like an anti-cheat, which is supposed to be background software, right? You don't want it impacting performance of the game. That's a negative aspect of it. So when the Ricochet team put this together, they're working with they're working with essentially an obligation to make it as resource neutral as possible. They want this thing to be as buttery smooth, as low intensity on resources. They don't want it to be running processes in the background that can get hung up, right? We've all seen anybody who's done streaming will know that sometimes Discord becomes a memory hog, right? Because it'll just eat up your memory and it'll lag your game and your stream. So they don't want Ricochet to do that. And so to do that, you have to make it as simple as possible. And the other thing, long-standing complaint is in the size of the game, right? The game's like 200 gigabytes sometimes. And so anything to cut space, anything to cut resource use is a good thing, right? And so efficiency is the name of the game in a lot of ways. And so in the name of efficiency, they decided to use a text string that was very specific. It had to be exact, right? Like capitalization, spacing, all of it had to be exact. And it was one of those things of like, it's not a phrase people would use, right? Like that's just not a phrase that people would use. And I think it certainly it's not something that would commonly be sent through messages, right? TriggerBot. There's some other phrases. I mean, there's a few other phrases. That's not the only one, but that's like the main one. But it's like, it's something that's not likely to show up naturally. All right, they kind of choose these phrases that they're not natural phrases, and I think they just never. It's one of those things. I don't think it ever crossed their mind that someone would actually figure this out. And this is like, this is where hacking and computer stuff kind of like. This is one of those things where it is probably not something somebody was looking for. This comes about because somebody was poking around and they saw something and they said, what is this? That's interesting. And they kept poking at it until they figured out what it was, right? And then realized what they could do with it, which is why this is one of the biggest problems Call of Duty probably has ever dealt with. I mean, this is bigger than not putting loadouts in at the launch of Warzone 2.
I actually liked that, but that's just me.
Because and you have to understand, like this is just somebody pouring through Ricochet's code and pouring through how it interacts with the game code, and they would just see this stuff in real time, in real text. Like this is how you stumble across this stuff. But it's such a problem because now the question that we have to ask is how long have they used this as a cheat detection flag, right? Because at the end of the day, right, the guy who made it, he said he used this to ban thousands of accounts. And one of the things that I saw described was that you could put it in the text chat or change your account name to that, and everybody in the lobby would have that phrase in their RAM. Like everybody in the lobby, just by the fact that you were all in there together. So the number of accounts that got banned by this is probably huge, way bigger than we are anticipating. And so what happens is Activision is forced to evaluate the bans, that have occurred based on this. Now, I want to be clear, this is not the only way to ban accounts. Like they will have all kinds of other measures, right? Whether it be reporting, manual reviews, so specific detections, right? So when we have ban waves because a provider has been detected, they're not going to be under the standard bans, right? This is from all descriptions seems to be narrowly tailored to Ricochet detects something specific. I think trigger from looking at them, I'm guessing TriggerBot is aimbot. It detected aimbot. There was another one that detected walls. There's another one that looked like it detected just tooling accounts, right? And so this would just be natural, right? It's expected that you slip up, your software slips up or something, right? And it detects these walls, and that's how it triggers it. Versus like if Activision cracks engine owning again for like the 18th time and is able to, which they did this week, by the way, that slipped under the radar. But it detects engine owning, right? They're not going to just naturally let it detect it. They're going to put parameters in and identify all the accounts specifically so that they can do them all in a ban wave and get as many accounts in that ban wave as possible, right? They don't want to onesie twosie it as they play. They want to collect them all. So that would have a different string of, of markers on it that have different flags on it than this, right? So it's a very narrow. So this is a very narrow detection versus other kinds of detections and manual reviews, right? Those sort of things are different. So when they look at it, they have to say, hey, we can't tell the difference. They probably don't have the data. They can't tell the difference between somebody's account that was banned 6 months ago through this tool and somebody's account who was banned because their aimbot was detected, right, while they played.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to tell because the flags are the same. And that's where this becomes one of the worst case scenarios, because now in order to restore falsely banned accounts, you have to restore them all. There's no in between. And so that's what happened Friday morning. They unbanned all the accounts detected and flagged in this manner. So now everybody from, I think, WAG got his account. And this is one of those things that I have a feeling this actually goes back to the launch of 2019. I think that's when they put this flag system in place, and they just used it continuously since then, because there are accounts going back to 2020 that were banned that are coming back, and that's bad.
Unreal,
that's really
man.
Bad.
This is the drawback. This is the drawback to PC being the majority of the player base, as far as that are non-mobile player base. Because I remember when we were on console, the biggest issue we had was, quote, lag. I mean, I had guys that. So it's funny because playing on console, whenever they died, it was always the lag or the servers. Now that we're all on PC, it's the cheaters and this and that. So I don't know what.
Well, I mean, it used to be you had the problem of people that were, whoever was hosting the server was like lagging the server. That was the big cheat back in the day. is if you were
Yeah.
hosting the server, you could degrade it and screw everybody else up, and you'd be playing fine. Everybody else would be screwed. I remember those days, you know.
But yeah, I mean, times were just so much more simple when it wasn't crossplay. Like, I just don't, again, I talk about Blackout all the time. I don't ever remember dealing with this over there. And that's another thing that makes it a better experience than Warzone. I said what I said. Don't fucking at me. I'm never going to change my mind.
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I said this originally when this first dropped, and I read through it, and I figured out, and I wrapped my head around the capabilities of what they were talking about. I realized, like I said this, I think in the video, that this is like the worst case scenario for Call of Duty, because you can't even, like, now you can't even have like a conversation about it anymore, because you don't know. We don't know. There's no way to know who's cheating and who's not, right? Like, you have all these accounts that got unbanned, and it's people that we know are confirmed. Like Itapa got his account back, right? And he admits that he was rage hacking back in the day. He admits that, and he got his original account back, right? And a lot of folks got their accounts back. And of course, they haven't played on those accounts for years, so they're getting burger lobbies to start. By the way, in case you want to know how bad it's the ultimate 2-box. Get your account banned 3 years ago, and then get it back because of a glitch.
That's crazy, man. It's unreal that this is even a thing.
That's why I said, like, it is so simple, and it is so simple. It actually gets called into question straight up, right? And there are. I made a video about it earlier. There's a couple of different reasons why it gets called into question. One is because it's so simple, and I kind of went over why it exists the way it does, and why that's not a problem from a development standpoint. On who would do this? Well, obviously, someone trying to make it efficient would do this, and that's the name of the game on these things. You need it. You need efficiency to make it work. So I don't discount it from there. The question comes up a lot of, well, okay, if it's somebody who was, somebody like Zebler, who has, obviously he's a cheat maker. There's a reason for him, a financial reason for him to be invested in this. So what's his angle on it? I will be honest, I don't know of what angle he has in terms of coming forward, right? I don't know him personally, so I don't have any way of like speculating on that. But I will say credibility lends to his statements being accurate, simply because, as he said in his initial tweet, he figured it out early enough and built a workaround on his provider. So it doesn't affect him negatively. It doesn't affect his customers. And if he wanted to really make money off of this, if his goal was to make money off of this, if he wanted to, the smart thing to do from his standpoint, would be to offer protection for it. Hey, I can keep you from getting falsely banned. Don't believe me? Watch it. That's what the mob does. It's how they make their money, right? They go to the bodega down the street and say, hey, you better pay me protection or someone's going to mess up your shop. And if they don't pay the protection, they mess up their shop, and they say, see what happens when you don't pay us protection? Like, it is the ultimate easy moneymaker. Hold the key to destroy somebody's stuff, and then say, if you don't pay me protection, your stuff gets destroyed, right? Like, that's how this works. So he has every reason financially to keep this a secret. Okay? So you can't discount him on that, because he has no reason to tell us this and fix the problem financially. So that leads to it being credible from his standpoint, that he is foregoing financial benefit at the end of the day for this. The timing and turn of events makes an awful lot of sense, right? He makes the statement, and then the named accounts get their accounts back very quickly, long before he's able to long before he releases what happened. Okay, so from a logical standpoint, he's released what happened prior to that, right? Like, he said there's There's this thing. I've tested it. It's true. Here's the accounts I tested it on. And Activision reading that would have been able to look at these accounts and recognize that the trigger bot command did not come from Ricochet. It was in a whisper or in a friend request. And I think that's worth pointing out, that they reversed those bans immediately. Like within hours, those bans were turning around, which led to significant credibility. And then Ricochet, Activision announced it. They stated this was real in a tweet and that they'd fixed it.
Yeah, but this is why some of that crowd is silly to me, because I've seen tweets that are like, yeah, this is a fucking conspiracy. Activision's just doing this to, cover up for their cash cows and big streamers and whatever. It's like there is so much distrust in this community. It's unfucking real. And I'll point out, we talked about this yesterday. So again, I disagree with what Zebler does. I disagree with any cheating company or anyone that uses cheats. And you pointed this out, and I'll bring it up here. So I'm not taking full credit for it, but isn't it kind of ironic that he's legitimately the only one that's made an apology at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Activision didn't. And, we have friends that are like, big deal, it's not the end of the fucking world. Well, it is if you have endorsement deals, if you have a community to potentially lose and things like that. Mm-hmm. Listen, I believe in throwing the absolute book at any legitimately caught cheater. But if somebody is falsely banned like that, there should 100% be an apology. And yes, it matters.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the full, then there's the conspiracy of that they're all working together. And
it just gives me tired head, dude. Jesus Christ. I just want to hop on and play the fucking game and follow news about Call of Duty. But instead, I have to go through. And honestly, dude, I'm not going to lie, dude. I mute a lot of shit on Twitter nowadays when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's fucking exhausting. I don't have enough tinfoil to make a hat.
Yeah. And I'll be clear. I really don't think that this is going to be one of those things that's ultimately unbanning accounts. Like if this was his plan to get all these accounts unbanned, that actually hurts his money. That hurts his pocketbook again, because don't forget, cheat providers, they create and sell new accounts. That's part of their business model. Right? They make millions selling accounts to ban cheaters. They create the accounts, they have them spooled up to the right level, and then they sell them, right? And they actually can make money spooling the accounts up by creating these bot lobbies that people go into where all the accounts are just bots, right? Like they're all AFK. Those are just in there being leveled up. Like so they can make money on both ends. So if you give everybody their banned accounts back, you lose money.
Yeah.
So every level of conspiracy theory on this doesn't pass the sniff test, because it's like Occam's razor. The simplest answer is the right answer. It's the one that doesn't have extraneous. It doesn't make you pretzel, right? You don't have to have the epicircles going, which if anybody studies astronomy, epicircles are the way to make the Earth the center of the universe, where instead of having the Earth orbiting the sun, right, the Earth is centered and all the planets move around the Earth. But then when there's deviations, when that model doesn't work, then they all have little mini orbits. They just spin around nothing, like in little spirals and little thing. Like, it's incredibly complicated to make everything line up, and it never lines up perfectly. Unlike if the sun is the center of the solar system, everything lines up perfectly. Right?
It's entirely too early in the morning for this shit, dude. God almighty. I mean, fucking hell.
You've been up early. You've been up.
And let me also say this. I know it doesn't necessarily apply, but because of the amount of distrust there is in the community, that right there, and the fact that people cannot legitimately get that there are people that are actually good at the game, that is exactly why there's a whitelist. Is so when people like Super Evan or Biffle or whatever can go into, if they play pubs, they don't have 37 people that work from logistics to the janitorial staff or whatever just sitting there spam reporting them and getting a ban. That's why there's a fucking whitelist, you know?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like it is such a this is such a bad thing to have happened. Like this is arguably the worst scandal Call of Duty has ever had to deal with. They've dealt with glitches, they've dealt with bugs, they've had like everything from everything from like that bugged MAC-10 that did more damage that you could buy to like that season 1 reloaded of this year that just collapsed, right? Like that, remember everything was like spazzing and people couldn't load the game for like a day and a half. Like that stuff pales in comparison to how bad this is, because and this is the problem. It is multifaceted. There is no definitive way of determining if somebody's cheating, because if they get permanently banned, they will forever be able to point to this and say, look, somebody must have found another workaround. Somebody must have figured something out because I got permanently banned unjustly. And you can no longer say that's not true because it's never happened, because it did happen and it has been happening for a long time. Okay? So now permanent bans are not indication that someone is cheating anymore. You cannot say that. Like that is no longer a valid statement. Which means that a lot of closet cheaters that get caught are going to are going to get, they have to be given the benefit of the doubt. You can't say, well, you got permanently banned, and that doesn't happen to non-cheaters. Now you have to consider that this is a possibility. You also have the integrity of Ricochet being completely undermined, because nothing they do can take this back, right? And on top of that, you have previously banned cheaters who were legitimately banned, who should not be playing the game, who are getting their accounts back and will be able to play the game on those accounts and possibly cheat more because they don't have a way of easily determining who was caught in this and who wasn't. So they had to unban it all.
I don't like the fact that it's that easy, right? Like you ban somebody, it's like, oh, big deal. I'll just go create another account.
I mean, at least from that point of view, it's like, somebody who got permanently banned and never got their account back, right? Clearly, if they're on another account, they're cheating. Like that at least opens the, that is one of those things that is like, obviously, if you're on your 5th account in 2 years, you're probably not legit. Like you're doing something. Like if you have to keep swapping accounts out, like that, up until now, that's been an obvious thing. Like if you cannot sit on one account and play, and you can't get into it, like if you can't log into the same account over and over again, like you're obviously doing something, right? Like that was until now a legitimate thing, and now you can't say that because, and here's the other thing. Here's the other insidious thing. How many people were banned because hacker hunters wanted to make videos on it? We don't know the extent to which this tool is used. We don't even know if this person that came forward with it is the only person to have discovered it. So now when you have people that had their accounts banned, it is entirely possible that somebody banned them for the express purpose of making a video on them being banned. So everything that we've seen from the hacker hunter community, we now can't trust. Like that whole community is untrustable at this point. Because any permanent bans that they made a video on, they could have created. That possibility now exists. They could have had their hands in it. This is the worst case scenario for this game. And you know what's even worse? This isn't the only game. It's in PUBG.
Oh,
BattlEye has the same problem. Who knows what other games have the same problem that haven't been uncovered yet? This undermines gaming. Like as an overall, like PvP gaming is now suspect because who else has a day zero like this that hasn't been uncovered? We've got 2. And I've heard rumors of a 3rd. So This whole thing is one of those, like, it is the worst case scenario. Like, it will take years before I think we all recover. It'll take years before the fallout, the true nature and degree of this fallout is uncovered. And it will take years from there before it's all resolved. Like we're probably like 5 years away from being able to say we're past this.
Know that we'll ever be past it, because there's always going to be pussies who won't want to put in the work, that are going to inject cheats and use shit like that. So, I mean, and again, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying that there aren't cheaters. We all know there are. In fact, I got a successful report a few days ago. I'm just saying that not everybody cheats. Not everybody that kills you cheats, you know? And so,
well, the ones that kill me are, obviously.
Yeah. I honestly, dude, the whole thing just gives me fucking tired head. It legitimately does. I would rather go outside and slam my head in my car door than deal with this cheating shit all the fucking time. Like, it's exhausting. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is what we do, right? Like, we are not a cheating podcast, but this was big fucking news. And like you said, it has far-reaching effects that have now undermined basically the credibility of basically everyone. I mean, everyone. If you have an Activision account, guess what? You're sus as shit now. We don't trust you. I mean, think about it, dude.
Untrustworthy. You're them. So yeah. So that was this week. There was, and it's so simple, and it's just one of those things of like, it's funny. I was talking to another creator, caught in 4K in DMs about this after the first one, you know, before all this came out, like all the details came out, and he was asking me what I thought, and I'm like, I had a couple of thoughts about it. I had some he asked me what I thought was happening. It's funny because I was actually pretty close to it on the guesses, but basically, you know, I fully expected this to be one of those things where, you know, they found some endpoint in the code and they figured out how to write an injection that would like trigger it, right? And they could, you know, either feed it usernames or feed it kind of overwhelm somebody's account. And they were, but it just didn't require extensive software and programming skills. It just required you typing in the chat.
Jesus, my dad can type this. His fucking one finger typing. God. He doesn't even use the home keys. Trigger, bot. Like, oh my God. And you know what's going to be worse? I think you mentioned this in one of our conversations too. Like, moving forward, AI is going to be a fucking problem, dude. AI is going to be a problem as far as like cheats go and things like that. And so, you know, I don't know, maybe Activision can take some of that $1 billion that they get every fucking year and, like, I don't know, invest more money in the anti-cheat department. Like,
that'd be nice.
I mean,
I'm very down for that.
They should. It's their responsibility. They are responsible for the shape of their product. And as consumers, which we are consumers, we have every right to demand that.
Yes, we do. I agree wholeheartedly. And so I think it's just it ends up being one of those situations where, you know, at the end of the day, the solution is to overhaul the fundamental principle of Ricochet, which is that it is not an always on anti-cheat. It is on when you play the game and it turns off when you don't. And that's the biggest problem right there, is that when it's not on, it's not protecting anything. So that's how you get cheats in. You load the cheats in, and then they have code that hides it from Ricochet. And then when you boot the game up, Ricochet looks around and cheats are like, there are no cheats to see here. These are not the cheats you're looking for.
Yeah,
and
it turns
then
into
Ricochet
fucking
goes,
Ray Charles.
Move along, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not always on, right? And that's why Valorant is so good. The Valorant cheat, anti-cheat, which is called Vanguard of all things, it's always on. You boot your computer, it boots up at the start, and then if you try to inject at any time, it flags, right?
I like your idea of Microsoft just creating a gaming operating system, and we use that.
I would love that
as a base for that. I legitimately think that would kind of change the game so to speak, as far as that goes. And it would, I would like to see actually Microsoft get way more involved in this side of things.
Yeah.
Than what, and I don't know the
Well,
extent
now they
of
have
their
a $70
involvement
billion
now.
reason to. So
Yeah.
let's do,
I don't know the extent of their involvement now, but honestly, even after they purchased Activision, it still seems like everything's more or less status quo than before they bought it. So that, to me, logic says they're probably not as involved in that as maybe they should be, or that I hope they will be.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things of like, you also have to let the development cycles that are in process cycle through, right? If you step in,
Right.
So they bought it, they closed it earlier this year, right? So if you close the deal and then you have a 4-year project that's in its final stages and you start going in and trying to mess with it, like that's not going to work. That's a bad idea. So, yeah, no, but I really hope they create like an OS instance, right? Where it's like, if you want to play online, if you want to play Call of Duty online, or you want to play GTA online or whatever, like your computer reboots and it basically is like an Xbox OS or like a PlayStation, kind of like a console OS, where it's like the only software you can run is approved software. The only software, the only hardware that gets recognized is authenticated hardware. Like controllers, they all have chips in them that authenticate them, right? Like that's how it works. And so I think that would go a long way to cutting the cheating problem down, and I think that unfortunately PC players, like, we've proven that we're untrustworthy at the end of the day. We don't get the benefit of the doubt. We don't get to have our cake and eat it too. So
No.
I think if we want PC to be in game and playing, we need to force something like this. Just because if we don't, like, we're not going to go. It's just not going to work out.
Well,
at the end of the day.
Do you have the tweet where they've listed the improvements to the system that they're going to be doing?
The I'll believe it when I see it list.
Right. Well, they're basically trying. I think what they're doing is they're trying to calm everybody down before Black Ops 6 comes out this week. And
can you imagine the team, like the writing team, having this thrown on their lap days before they release this blog post? Like, they probably had to rewrite this thing like last night.
Jesus.
The night before. They're probably all up. It does not read like the previous ones where they're very business-like. This one reads like they were like, oh, I could slam this out as fast as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see here. They talk about their server side and their kernel level driver, which is kernel level, by the way, but like I said, it turns off. So it doesn't matter it doesn't matter where it is when it's off, right? Their cheats are kernel level too. So, I know that's always a question. And then, machine learning, I don't know, whatever. They talk about a bunch of stuff. It's the same thing they say it's the same thing they say every time they update it. They're making improvements. They're going to try and do better. They're going to try and catch stuff. They have new detections. They have a new mitigation system, right? Like, we have Splat and we have Bullet Shield, and they're gonna have another one for us. Cool. I like making fun of them too, but like, I care more that you find them more than what you do with them afterwards, as long as they get out, right? And so they have all these things, and they say they want to cut down how long it takes to detect a cheater. They say they usually get them out within an hour. Yes, the ones they find, they get out within an hour. The majority of them they miss because it's not an always on anti-cheat. So, and they're committed to being better.
The other thing, I've mentioned this several times too. I know it's not part of the anti-cheat, but it was this way for a little while, and then they put it back. I think they should take away the ability to see who or how many people are spectating you. They did that for a while, and I think it would help, because how many times have you thought something was a little suspect, and so you spectate, and they got that one up at the top right of the screen, and then just randomly, like, there's a little bit of, like, there's no activity for like 30 seconds so they can turn off whatever cheats they've got, and then they go and play like they're fucking Timmy No Thumbs the rest of the match, because they're like, oh shit, I'm about to be reported or whatever. Like, take that away.
I've had a surprising amount of that where it's just like it's like they fly into a building and wipe me off the map without, it's like, I mean, it's like, geez, did I just run into Biffle? And then I've had it where they wiped an entire team. And I'll say this, friend of the pod, Carlos, I play with him from time to time. And when I do, it's like, I don't know what he does, where he lives, but he's just like cheater central, man. His lobbies are the worst. And it's hilarious because it'll be like somebody will just 1v4 and wipe us all. And then as soon as we stick around and they realize we're watching, they'll stop. And then all of a sudden they can't find their feet in front of their face and they can't hit anything. Like it's remarkable. So I don't disagree. I don't disagree that that's a bad thing. Right. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, would it help? Maybe. Would it make it easier to spot them? Maybe. Would it make a difference? Probably not.
But you know what it will do? It will make them uncomfortable because then they're going to have that in their fucking head. Oh my God, am I being spectated? You know what I mean? Like make them fucking uncomfortable and give them a little bit of anxiety. And the other thing I'd like to also point out, and I've said this on Twitter several times, let's stop calling these dudes that use these cheats hackers. They're not hackers. Hacking requires some kind of talent. These are basically just fuckboys who go and download somebody else's work.
Facts. Yep.
Stop calling them hackers. They're cheaters.
You're not hackers. You're fuckboys. New phrase. It gets demonetized when we say it, but I'm fine. Get ourselves voice banned. We don't need to be heard on game. That works really well though. Voice ban catches everybody. Oh,
of course it does. Remember, I got a warning for bullying that kid in Plunder, and it's funny. I've been, I don't know why, but I've been talking mad shit this week in voice comms, and I've every day I've turned on the game, I'm like, I bet today's the day I get my comms warning again or comms ban, and it hasn't happened yet.
Okay, all right, yeah, I got it the other day, and I just lit some kid up who was cheating his balls off.
But I'm not using no words either, though. I don't do that. Usually it's just you're a pussy or,
It was in Spanish, and I did my best to say it back to him, so.
Oh,
I don't know what I was saying. I don't know what I said.
Dude, I've been called a puta madre so many times.
I probably said really bad things. I probably said those words, but they were in a language I don't speak, so whatever.
I don't know, dude. I've been cussed at in Spanish so many times, man.
I stay in Discord now because, Discord is currently, better. But yeah, so this caps off a year of interesting Warzone. I think, I think Modern Warfare 3 is going to be one of those mixed bag reviews. When people do a year in review, I think it's going to be hard to sit there and give a definitive review on it. Like previous iterations, we can say all right, overall this game was, this game was that. I think the Modern Warfare 3 era of Call of Duty is going to be so nuanced in how we remember it and how we talk about it.
Well, the boys on the Drop Shot, this last episode they did a year in review, and I thought it was pretty solid. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Yeah, some dipshit on Twitter decided to put the rate, mix it up and confuse people asking how they would rate Warzone. I fell for it at first, so I guess that makes me a dipshit too. But anyway, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Where would you put Modern Warfare 3? Just because, we've discussed the fact that you've actually got a lot of time in multiplayer this year, comparatively speaking.
I would give Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer. I'm going to go multiplayer specific. Probably an 8.7. 8.8. I think there were some elements that were still held back. Cheating was a problem, remained a problem all year, which has been true for the last 4 years. But there were movement issues. It was better than Modern Warfare. It was better than how Modern Warfare 2 ended, but it still didn't have the fluidity of 2019. Right? So there were still a lot of things that delay. Servers were still troubling, off and on.
Mm-hmm.
SBMM, hit and miss, depending on if you were solo queued or not. So those were all detractors from it. I thought the camo grind was phenomenal compared to the previous year, where you had 74 billion long shots and you just spent weeks laying down on a fucking map waiting for someone to walk in front of you. So W on that, huge improvement. The camo grind made sense. It was fun. I thought the weapon balancing was much better. Everybody didn't just run the TAC 56 outside of the first few weeks. But no, I thought the variety of weapons that you could use in multiplayer were much better than previous years. Like there were a lot. Like I used all 10 slots, and they all had different configurations, and they were all viable. I thought the gear system instead of perks was great. I had a lot of fun with that. There was so much you could mix and match.
It was pretty awesome. Yeah, I liked that.
And it was a good take on it. I thought it made a lot of sense. And I remember a lot of people when they first announced it were like, "This sounds stupid," and then they tried it and they said, "Actually, this works out pretty well."
They had some tweaking to do with that, though, because you remember, like, there was one, I think it was like the stealth vest or whatever, where, like, if you used that, you didn't get a lethal or a tactical. Like, they had to do a little bit of tweaking on that. But, yes, overall, the system for that was great.
Yeah. And I think the content drip that we got was outstanding. Like, it was probably one of the best content drips that I think multiplayer has had ever. Like, we got so much stuff to grind for. We got additional camos. We had challenges every week. We had stuff you could unlock by just, by doing the challenges. You had the weekly challenges. You had event challenges. Every week had an event, it felt like. The camos you got from it were great. We had the aftermarket parts. Aftermarket parts were amazing. Like, that was so much fun. There were so many times when you could take Modern Warfare 2 guns and make them relevant again, without adding 87 different optics to it, right? That was great. Huge W. So, overall, I think it's phenomenal. I think it was a really good... I had a lot of fun. I logged almost 5 days in multiplayer. I haven't logged that much time in multiplayer of any game since Warzone launched. I don't think I had that much time in Modern Warfare 2019, and I played that a lot.
Yeah,
multiplayer there. So great on that. Yeah, I thought the game. I think overall, the game was multiplayer was a huge W. I enjoyed it a lot. How about you?
I agree. I think that if anything, this year is going to be the year that basically got multiplayer back on track, because it hasn't been right since, honestly, before 2019 for a lot of reasons. And for them to be able to put forth the content that they did, that I thought that was great. I think Sledgehammer I've become a fan of Sledgehammer. I think they, for the hand that they were dealt, they did a fantastic job with Modern Warfare 3. It's sad that, there was a lot of controversy early on that it was going to be, DLC and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we ended up getting a lot of original maps, throughout the year. And I play a lot of multiplayer. I've got 9 days logged on multiplayer, on top of the 25 that I have in Warzone. So I play it a lot. I enjoy multiplayer. I enjoyed this. To me, the only real negative, though, is the fact that I had to play so much of it by myself. And it's not... and that was for a couple reasons. It was because I had people that didn't come back after Modern Warfare 2. They were like, screw this. And, and the other reason is just partying up with people automatically just makes... It turns it into the fucking CDL, so I play a lot of, just random, play with a lot of randoms. And my win-loss suffers because of it, if I'm being real.
My win-loss suffers because I camo grind at the start.
Well, and I want to win.
I think I got out of the camo grind with a 0.2 win-loss.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, I want to win. That's the thing. I don't play a game to lose. Like I want to win, and I'm really looking forward to this next year of the multiplayer side of it. Obviously, I prefer Warzone over multiplayer, but I still like playing good Call of Duty, and I think they accomplished that with Modern Warfare 3. They did a lot of things that fixed Infinity Ward's mess.
I think 6v6 multiplayer is still relevant and has a place. And we've talked about this in relation to X Defiant a lot. And I think there's a place for 6v6 multiplayer. It definitely has an audience. It has gameplay. I just think it's diminished, and it needs more than just that, right? And so, Call of Duty's often had third modes. This time around, it was the Modern Warfare take on zombies.
Yeah.
I know you played a little bit of it, especially training for mouse and key. Mm-hmm. 1 to 10, same scale. Where are you on that?
I know this is an unpopular opinion. As far as zombies is concerned, I've never liked the round-based zombies. I liked the open world concept that they had. Being able to go in and you could level gun. The fact that you could level guns in there, like that was awesome too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have a hard time really rating the zombies part of it because I guess maybe a 7 or an 8 for me. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big zombies player. Like I won't touch zombies on this next game. I won't touch it. You?
Probably a 9, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, so you put a lot of time in there, didn't you?
This is my most played mode, to be honest. And I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I enjoyed the fact that I could play it by myself, right? Like when at however
to a point.
Well, okay. Yes, but I could sit down and play by myself and not have to worry about it. I could just mindlessly level up guns or grind camos, and W for them to put a separate Modern Warfare zombies camo system in there for both sets of weapons, MW2 weapons and MW3 weapons. So that was cool. Those were some of the best camos. I thought, but no, they gave the way they handled difficulty and the way they handled the missions, I thought was phenomenal. I think that was really good. So I mean, you could just be in there to kind of tool around and kind of just relax. I mean, I found that relaxing. That was the mode for me. Like, if I played Warzone and everybody got off early because lobbies were trash, but I wasn't ready to go to bed or wind down yet, I could fire up that mode. I could put my feet up on the coffee table, fire up the Xbox in the living room, put my feet up on the coffee table, have a beer and just play and enjoy playing Call of Duty and not have it stressful. If I wanted to dive in and go for something specific, like I could sweat my balls off playing that mode, because you got in there and it got intense real fast, right?
Yeah, the further you get into the map.
And so having the ability to control how much you want to work at it was, I think, a huge W. Huge benefit to that game mode, right? I could make it as tough or as challenging as I want. And having to lose your stuff when you go in there, great. Like, it adds risk. Every time you go in, you have to think about it. What am I bringing in there that I could lose? Right? If I don't make it out, how well is this going to go? So I thought that was a fun aspect. I thought that was exciting, and as challenging as you wanted it to be or not, right? You could level guns up without screwing up your KD, so you weren't taking the level 1 Basilisk or TYR into Rust and trying to actually be productive with it.
I still don't have that piece of shit maxed out.
Yeah, don't bother.
I don't really care. I mean, I've used it actually in gunfight. Like, there's one of the blueprint gunfight. Like, there's one that's got the sniper scope on it and the stock or whatever. So I've been leveling it that way when I've run some gunfight. Did they fix the deal where, like, if you don't have a gun and I do, and we go into zombies and I drop it and we extract, you get that gun? Did they fix that, or are you still able to do that?
I think you're able to do that, right?
I think that's cool, dude.
I think that was supposed to be that was intentional, I believe.
Yeah, kind of help your buddies, like
unlock stuff.
Yeah. Well, like I Hoops, my buddy Hoops, he doesn't play a lot anymore, and he doesn't have the D tier. So knowing that I can do that, I think we're probably going to do that today.
I believe that works. Don't quote me on that. Somebody will correct me in the chat if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we'll try
I believe that still works. But yeah, no, I think that was a W. And then so the multiplayer side of it, I think was overall a 9, like an easy 9 for the multiplayer side of it. Great content, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to grind for and unlock this year. A lot of just an ongoing great content year. Maps were overall pretty good. There were some maps.
Greece.
That was the one in Oakland, right?
No, Greece is the white one. It's the one with white, and it's got the water, and it's got the you can tell it's like Mediterranean style architecture. That map sucks.
Yeah. Emergency is not great either. I didn't like that
those
map.
2 maps, put them in a trash can and shoot that shit off to space. I hope we don't ever play those maps again.
But yeah, and then there's this other mode. Did you hear? Did you play that other mode at all? It was what do they call that mode? Warzone?
Yeah. Yeah, I played Warzone. So this is what I'll say about Warzone. I did tweet this, I think yesterday. I think they got the mechanics right. There's a lot of stuff that they did right. But what they did wrong is just not giving any content, like Brax was talking about last week. Like, they put some moss on pop off and knocked down a few fucking towers or whatever, and then added Superstore, and that's legitimately the only content. We had no real good events on the big map. They basically just neglected the big map, right? And I'm only speaking about Warzone from a big map perspective because I don't play Resurgence. I don't like the mode. So I'm not going to comment on it. It seems like all y'all are happy.
I think it's worth separating Resurgence and BR in the conversation. So we'll rate BR.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had to rate the BR, I'd give it a 3. And I think that's probably being generous. And a lot of that's lack of content, no big map ranked, and the algorithmic bullshit they got going on, dude. It like you said, it felt like it was dialed up starting in like January. Like, it was like mid-January is when everything just kind of went to shit. So yeah,
I don't know what happened. I don't know. I mean, I went from coming out of the holiday season, I was rocking like a 1.2 KD. And by the end of January, I was like at a 0.7 or something. Like, it went that south that fast, and I don't understand. I couldn't figure out why. I still don't know why that happened, but got it back up. But it was definitely a challenging big map year. I'll say that. I feel like we didn't get a lot of. I feel like we didn't get any content, like you said. Pop off got green and we got Superstore, which is is what it is. At least Superstore played well. Like, it felt true to the original. Felt fair to that.
It was just the placement of it. It's in like a weird fucking location.
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere. But if you look at the map before that, there was nothing there at all. So I mean, at least they filled a hole with of dead space with a POI. That makes sense. So I'm okay with that. It's like I think the map wasn't conductive to I think, to having a strong flow one way or the other. Like, Verdansk had a great flow to it. It really did. And I think people didn't understand that. And I think this is one of those critiques that I think we brought upon ourselves by complaining without thinking. The problem with building designs
Yeah.
I'll say that. The building designs in Verdansk were all cookie cutter, right? For the most part.
They were simple.
Like, they were simple. They were all the same, right? If you went into an apartment block anywhere in Verdansk, they were all the same, right?
Yeah.
You knew where the stairs were, you knew where the doors were, you knew what rooms you can go into. Like, there was no confusion. And I think we got, as a overall community, we complained about that, and they fixed that. So now every building is different, and every building has, visual differences, and some doors are blocked off and some are not. And I think at the end of the day, that was a mistake for us to complain about, because I get lost in buildings all the time in Urzikstan. I can't find my way out of them. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to get to the roof half the time. I don't realize that I got to go outside and go find a different door, right? And I think all of that ultimately, while it does provide a more lived-in experience and a more realistic experience where buildings are all different from each other, which is how it is in real life, right? In a real city. From a gameplay perspective, I think that's a miss, because now I have to memorize 7,000 different layouts and remember where they all are in the map, right? Versus Verdansk, I remember like 5 layouts and they were all the same. Didn't matter where I ran into them.
Well, like Brax said last week, he's like, I've played the game 40 days and there's still buildings that like I still can't figure out, or realize how to get to the roof. And
he's number 7 in the world in terms of Warzone.
Yeah.
So like, if he struggles like the rest of us, and I can't imagine the people that only play a couple hours a week, right? Like, that don't put a lot of focus on it. They just log in and play. Like, they've got to be just lost all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think I say it as a miss that we brought upon ourselves, because we had it simple and we complained about it, and so they fixed it, and now it's like, oh wait, it was better simple. And I think that is ultimately the biggest critique I have of Urzikstan as a map, is that it is complicated. It is a complex map, right? There are multiple levels. There are underground tunnels. There are, that aren't always obvious. There are, the buildings are all different. The arrangements of them. There's no central peak, which I give credit to. Like, there's no high point in the center of the map, which is a break from the last like 2 maps we've had. But we have dense urban areas that make finding people to fight challenging, because it's not always obvious where they are. Like, you might know where they are roughly on the map because you can hear them or you see red dots, but finding them in those buildings is challenging, right? So you could go multiple buildings without finding one. And I think Vondel had the same problem. We'll get to those maps in a bit. But, it's hard to pinpoint where people are. So it's hard to get into engagement sometimes. It can be challenging. You can go a long time without finding anybody to fight. And not for the same reasons that Urzikstan had, or that Al-Mazrah had, which was a giant map with only 100 people in it, where finding them was challenging until the circles got smaller.
Well, and your boots were like fucking cinder blocks too. Like it was like you were weighted down.
But I mean, the map was so large, you could have an entire POI to yourself for 2 circles, because there just weren't enough people to fill the map. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that overall, I think the map struggled in a number of different ways, and hopefully, with the return of Verdansk next when that returns, we get some improvement on that.
I think that we'd also be remiss if we didn't talk about the weapon balancing. Like, I feel like the weapon balancing this year has been absolutely terrible.
It's been slow to change, and
we've had one meta that was fun. The D tier's broke as shit. It needs nerf like ASAP, dude. Like, it's ridiculous when I can challenge a sniper at 60 to 80 meters out and not worry about it and just beam his ass out of the lobby. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like, I recognize the challenge of weapon balancing, because I, for one, because I level all the guns and I can, it's all available to me, right? Give me something,
to me too.
And I get bored easily, right, with stuff. So it's like, give me something new and I will play the crap out of it, and then I want something else. And I feel like there was a time in Caldera and going back into Black Ops era where weapons changed like every couple of weeks, right? There was a balancing patch. Caldera had a point where there was a balancing patch like every week. Like every week they shuffled stuff, which I thought was great. I really enjoyed it, and I really like that was one of the things that drew me into the game beyond just playing it, because I was always trying to keep up with what was changing and discovered true game data, and got involved with his, with Tony's community over there.
I used to think J God was the devil because I fucking well, hear me out. I came from Blackout where there were no fucking broken ass metas and shit like that, and like I used to get so irritated when I'd see these tweets about, oh, this gun is like broken, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that, and at the end of the day, it's not J God, it's Activision, or Raven that's allowing it. He's just reporting the news. So he actually cooked my ass one time because I'm like, dude, why do you put out these fucking meta videos? You're breaking the game. He's like, I'm sorry you got put in a trash can this last week. And I'm like, ouch. We're good now. I mean, I don't have a relationship with the guy, but like I respect him and he's good. But no, like it's the weapon balancing is terrible. Jay likes the sniping the way it is. I don't. I think for pubs, sniping should be a lot more viable. It's a higher skill weapon to use, and so those weapons should have a greater reward than what they currently have. I mean, listen, I'm getting plenty of kills with my cat. I big deal, but I wish there were more snipers that were actually viable. And just you made a point last week about the SMGs, and I agree with you. I think the SMGs have been the only thing that's been really good. The ARs have not been good for the most part. And I said this last night on stream. It is absolutely criminal that the MCW has not been absolute meta without the aftermarket part. The fact that it was never meta, like that's insane to me. That's one of the more popular guns in Call of Duty history. Like
I think
that is criminal.
Yeah, and I think that's because they didn't. And so it's like I selfishly want them to roll a meta like every week. Like, give me something new to use every week,
bi-weekly at least.
But I look back at and I've told this story repeatedly. Our longtime listeners are probably like, "Oh my god, he's gonna tell this story."
Yeah,
again.
this is gonna be the fifth time.
But my buddy with the EGM8, right? Like, he spent the whole week leveling it up. Finally got it meta. Had a great game. He had a great night with it. Loved, was like, yeah, I get it why this is good. I'm going to run it now. I'm excited for it. And then woke up the next morning, it was nerfed into the ground. And it was like, that was for someone who plays as little as he plays, which was, 2-3 hours a night, 3-4 nights a week, right? That isn't the PlayStation 2 hours a week player, right? But he's also not like in it enough to really where grinding guns out for him is kind of like the goal, right? He just wants to get on and play when he plays, and he's probably going to represent the bulk of the player base in that way, right? Like, people don't want to spend their playtime leveling guns, and so I understand why rolling the meta significantly every couple of weeks is a problem for a lot of players. Doesn't mean I agree that that's that we should have the opposite, where it's like, oh, you have the same meta for 3 months. Okay. I'm not arguing for that. I'm just stating that I understand the decision that's being made. And I think and I hope that Treyarch in the next year is going to find a happy medium where we don't get stuck with the RPK for 3 months. We don't get stuck with, the same, even like 2 months or 1 month of the same meta, where like every, we find a balance where it's like, maybe we have multiple weapons that are all equally valuable, and we can roll one or two of those around periodically, right? Where it's like, you have options. There are different things that can be viable, and they're, and the SMGs are in this way. Like, I've shared a graph, multiple times of like, there's probably 5 SMGs that are all viable, right? That are all competitive with each other. And I think that I hope that finds its way into the long range discussion, where it's like, you can have multiple ARs and they're all viable. You can have an LMG, multiple LMG. Like you can just have a lot of different options. And it's not, well, if you're not running this, you're just going to lose every 50-50 gunfight because of it.
There's a couple ways they could fix the problem. First and foremost, as mentioned several times on this podcast and on Twitter, if they had multiple weapons in each class that were viable instead of just one, or, out of over 100 weapons, only 3 being viable, you wouldn't have that problem where, Tim from accounting only gets to play 2 hours a week and have that issue. But the other way you could fix the issue, never going to happen. And people don't realize this would actually be better for the casuals. Take away loadouts, man. Just make it attachments and make the ground loot universal. Because guess what? Then they don't have to fucking spend 3 hours trying to level some shit. Everybody's on an even playing field. Then it's not a loadout simulator. But I digress because
but some of us like loadout simulators.
What's that?
Some of us like the loadout simulators.
Some of you are lazy as hell. If I'm being honest, like, oh my God, you have to loot for a couple extra minutes to get a couple of attachments. That actually shows more, it can show more skill too. Like you just fight with what you have. Like,
you know what? I'm gonna say this. I don't like that because it requires having good luck, good RNG on your side, right? And that's bullshit. Because you know what? I will tell you this. It's about drop rates. It's about everything else. Last year in the off season, I played Fortnite because it was that OG Fortnite, and that was a big thing. So I wanted to try it out, see how the map played because I never played it. And I lost so many fights because at the end of the day, the best weapon that I came across, no matter how many kills I had, was physically incapable of competing with the other guy who had found a purple weapon of the same class.
It's life. Big deal. Fucking you got clapped.
If I'm better
another
than him,
game.
No, fuck you. If I'm better than you and I just cannot mathematically compete because the game refused to give me the gun to make it a fair fight, get the fuck out. I don't want that. If I have the ability to pick my gun and I have the skills to survive with that gun, then it is a skill of mine of preparation to put together the right gun that will win the gunfight, right?
There's no skill anymore. There's COD Munity, True Game Data. It's not skill. Okay. People just fucking go to a website.
You haven't picked up enough random weapons off the ground to know that lots of people don't pay attention to that, because I have picked up some terrible guns and been like, what am I holding? Give me the ground loot thing back. All right. I don't want to, and you know what? I'm going to go back to Caldera. Caldera had this problem of you could build a loadout gun that was superior mathematically than anything you could find on the ground, right? And so if you could create the scenario through RNG in which you had a mathematically superior weapon, you're going to win the 50-50 gunfights because it is superior, okay? That shouldn't be the case. That should have the ability to be equalized. Now, if you are not skilled enough to survive with your loadout to the end of the game, then that's a different story. But if you are surviving, if I go from zero, from drop to the end circle in one life, I didn't get revived, I didn't lose my stuff, right? Then I should mathematically not be at a disadvantage because the game blessed someone else randomly with a better weapon. Like if I go toe to toe with an assault rifle and somebody else has the same assault rifle, then the mathematics should say the better skilled player wins. But if his does 30% more damage than mine because the game blessed him with a purple one and the game only blessed me with a blue one, that's bullshit. That's not a skill thing. That's random. You might as well flip a coin.
That is not how it worked in Blackout. Not at all, dude. It was you get a fucking base gun and then you build attachments on it. That's legitimately it. There was no purple, this gun's way better than this, or none of that nonsense.
The attachments will make it better, right?
I mean, maybe.
And here's the thing. You don't know because nobody tracked that shit. Like, nobody paid attention to that stuff.
I'm just telling you, dude, it was a better experience, and it would be better for, I truly believe in my heart of heart, it would be better for the casual or whatever the fuck. Like, not having to
I will
deal
tell you
with people that are significantly better that have meta loadouts that just beam their ass out of the sky anyway.
And I will tell you where I will agree with you is if there's a way to limit the ability of one loadout to mathematically change the other. If there are loadouts, if the attachments are everywhere and you can just pick them up without trouble and put together the gun that you want, then fine, right? If you can without trouble, without relying on RNG on RNG to provide you with the correct weapon in order to have a fair fight with someone, then I'm on board. But I don't know. And I will admit I have not played Blackout enough. I played a little bit, but I haven't played it enough to know one way or the other if there are better, how the guns stack, like how that all works out. I haven't played enough, so I will say that this is an area that I don't have that experience, but I have it in other BRs where, it's kind of like, in Warzone, right? When you're looting for ground loot and you find 17 different snipers and you go up against a team that found, fully kitted meta guns on the ground, right? Like, that's not no amount of skill changes that for you, right? Because random luck is not a skill.
Yeah, but
right?
you can win that fight sometimes. I've won,
sometimes,
maybe not with the sniper, but like, dude, you know how many times I kill people with ground loot weapons that have their loadout? Like, it happens.
And when the ground loot is balanced, like, there's great guns on the ground. I have won games where I've never touched my loadout. Where I've never gotten there because I find because the ground loot is good. And when the ground loot is good, like, it's great. Like, there are and I will say this, the purgatory mode, the ground loot was so great. Like, there were so many fun guns to pick up on the ground and just screw around with. Like, it was fun. So I'm not saying that we can't have like that kind of experience, but I'm saying that, like, at the end of the day, when you get to the final circle, like, if you're relying on luck to provide you with the tools that you need to play the game properly, like on an even playing field, I disagree with that.
Well, it's either luck or a crutch. It's one or the other. Skill ain't it. I mean, think about it, dude. You're talking either luck of finding the right gun or attachments, or a crutch and a loadout. Skill doesn't come into the equation there.
Well, I mean, the guns that you have available to you should put the two players on equal footing, and then their skill is what comes through, right? So, for example, and this is something that was complained about in past episodes, right? The Lockwood 300, when that was bugged, right? When that was OP,
mm-hmm.
There's no skill in one-shotting somebody, really, right? You could put that, you could hit somebody with that, and it didn't matter how good they were, as long as they were within the field and you hit them, they were downed.
No, it's the current shotguns now, the fucking akimbo bullshit.
Sure. But my point is that is an example of a superior weapon taking away the skill gap, right? You're using the weapon to take away the skill gap. So if you have two weapons of equal that are equal, right? Then whoever is the more skilled player has the bigger advantage. But if one person has a weapon that is overpowered versus the skilled player, then the skill becomes less relevant. It becomes more about who has the better weapon. And that shouldn't be, and my point is that shouldn't be the case.
That's
the skilled player. The skilled player should come out.
That's assuming it would be a colored system, blue, purple, green, whatever the fuck. I'm talking about if I pick up a gun, like, say, just an AR, and it maybe has a foregrip attachment and a standard magazine, and I get into a fight versus somebody who maybe has 3 or 4 other attachments. If I'm the more skilled player, I would be able to probably kill them anyway, regardless of how many attachments they have. You don't change the damage profiles. You just change whether the weapon you can control the recoil.
And that's going to change since Modern Warfare 2, where every gun does the same damage. And I think that was a good change. If you remember back to Caldera, right? Different attachments change the damage profile. You had the recoil booster. You had different ammunition, and that would change how much damage each gun could do. So you could get like the Type 100, which had an incredibly fast time to kill, and would beat everybody up close, right? Because it was just such a strong gun to, it was just such a fast time to kill. But you couldn't loot that gun because they never put a gun with those attachments in the ground loot, right? So you had two different scenarios where, mathematically you just cannot, two people of equal skill, the gun is the deciding factor. And I think that, and that is what Fortnite had. That's the feeling that Fortnite had, because whoever the game blessed with the better set of attachments, the gun that provided the more damage, right? They had a significant advantage. So when it came time to debating skill, right? Like, it was skewed, it was offset, and the legendary guns there are significantly better than the standard ground loots that you would normally find. And so the thing that loadout does is it balances that, right? Like, if you want to put in the effort to build the proper loadout and you are skilled enough to survive to the end of the game, then your advantage exists against people perhaps that don't have that. But if you run into another skilled team that has their loadout and has put the time in to build it, then the skill of the two players is what shines through, right? It is skill versus equipment versus equipment. And that's where I think Warzone shines, is that you can take the equipment off the table by building your loadout properly, and then your skill shines through. If you are low skill, but you have managed to scrap through and hidden in a corner the whole time, then you are at a distinct disadvantage, and that's a skill issue, right? Because you were not skilled enough to survive with your loadout. You were not skilled enough to loot and acquire the proper weaponry, and so you were at a disadvantage through your lack of skill.
Dude, it doesn't take skill to use the D tier. It doesn't take skill to use the STG. Those are fucking no recoil weapons. Like, there is no skill when you start talking meta weapons versus actual like PUBG style looting. I'm not talking. You can't. I don't.
Yeah, but you can pick up the D tier off the ground, like the ground loot one. It's still good, right? Like, it's
not a skilled weapon.
Okay, but that's not.
It's the current meta.
Okay, but two people with a D tier, right? The two of them fighting each other. Whoever has the more skill, who the skilled, the higher skilled player will win the fight most times, right? Because the weapons are balanced, they're equal, right?
I mean, in theory, but you have a meta weapon with Timmy Two Thumbs who can barely control recoil on their own. And they're using this no recoil weapon. They're landing shots, so you take the chance that Timmy No Thumbs can actually kill you. Like Brax was saying the other day. Like, I forget what the scenario was, but it was about the aim assist, right? Like, and we're not getting into that conversation, but he was like, "There's no way that you would ever kill me in your life." That scenario exists with the meta weapons.
It exists with every weapon, though, right? Like, every weapon, aim assist will do what aim assist does. There's no way to balance that, right? Like that, and it's there for everybody. And the people that learn to use it, again, a skill. Whether you agree with the skill or not, it's a skill to learn to use it properly and not, let your thumbs go all over the place. But the D tier versus the broken Lockwood 300, for example, right? Mathematically, the D tier will lose to the broken Lockwood 300 100% of the time, no matter how bad the player is, because the weapons are not equal to each other, right? So if you jump, if Brax jumps on someone who has the 300 and that person turns around and shoots them, they will kill Brax before Brax can kill them, because mathematically the two guns can't compete. Okay? And that's an extreme example. Okay, of what I'm getting at. Where if Brax jumps on someone and they both have the static, Brax can use his skill to break the aim assist of the lower skilled player and kill them. Right? And if they're and if they're shooting at each other at the same time, the higher skilled player, who can use movement, who can use cover, who can use the game environment to their advantage, is going to win the gunfight 99% of the time, right? Unless their controller disconnects mid-gunfight, okay? And that's what I think is more valuable to the game, where you can have a skill gap because people can practice, they can learn the game, they can get better at these, better at playing the game, and the lower skilled players can't compensate for that by having come across a superior weapon, right?
Well, there
Like,
are people who just aren't going to practice, dude. There are people who are not going to put in the effort at all.
Sure, but that's the thing, right? They shouldn't be able to overcome that with a better, like a higher damage version of the same weapon because they found it and the other person didn't.
If you take away the,
right?
That's the color coded way of like looting and doing a BR. I'm talking just straight guns and attachments. That's it. No, nothing else changes. Like, you don't get a fucking purple whatever. That's what I'm saying. Like, the more skilled fighter in Blackout style actually won gunfights and wasn't losing to non-skilled players who just happened to, because everybody's got the no recoil meta weapons. That's the point I'm trying to make to you is, I get what you're saying about the Fortnite style of BR. Like, that's not, I don't really care for that much either. I'd prefer to loot for attachments like PUBG or Blackout, or hopefully like Battlefield, man. I hope their BR's that way.
It'll be interesting. And like I mentioned, if the scenario exists where, the difference is things like ammo capacity or the optic that you get or whatever, then the system is fine.
That's what I'm talking about.
And especially if weapons are balanced, where you can pick up 5 different ARs and they're all viable. But if you have, if the option is you can pick up a ground loot MCW, you can pick up a ground loot Dragunov, or you can pick up the DITR or DTIR, right? Like, if there's only 3 DITRs on the map because of spawn rates, right? Then those players have a significant advantage over everybody else because, again, random choice gives them that advantage and there's no way to overcome it. So if there's if you can find the weapon readily and it's everywhere, then fine, then it works. But it kind of removes the whole point of looting and and the randomness of it if the weapon everybody wants is everywhere, because then everybody will have it, right?
I mean, I didn't really feel that way when we played Blackout, or even when I've played PUBG. I've it's just, to me, I go into the BR knowing that, someone may actually get a better weapon, or I might have to fight for a few minutes with a weapon I don't like, or I'm not good with, or not comfortable with, but that's just BR. But that's the difference, right? It's a mentality difference more than anything else.
And I think too, there's an attitude shift that's different now than there was back then, because I think people take these things a bit more seriously overall, and we have a lot more tools. We have people actually testing damage, right? We have True Game Data doing this thing. We have SYM farming, right? You have JGod, you have Exclusive Ace, you have all of these people who are going through and figuring this stuff out. And I don't know that was really a thing, right? We just kind of, I in Call of Duty, I didn't do that even into 2019, right? Like, the idea that the M4 had changed its damage profile was not something that was understood by me until we were into Cold War. Like, understand that. Like, that's how casual mentality used to be, right? You picked a gun, it felt good, you played with it, and it was what it was, right? You won some, you lost some. But now, the fact that we have a granular understanding and understand that this is now baked into the game. This is in Black Ops 6. We all have this information in front of us on day one in the game. We no longer have to go to
detailed stats that are going to be there,
right? And it's a great time to look at the blog post, because we now have this information at our fingertips. Like, just, it's there for us, right? It's always been there in the game. And I have a feeling that if you were to go into Blackout now and take the way that we approach the game now into Blackout, we would figure out that, okay, there's a meta weapon. This weapon is significantly better than these weapons. We would look at what attachments do. We would, all that information would be more available to us, and probably the game would play different now because of it.
It's fucking, I mean, so that whole thing is ruined.
It's one of those things of, like, the genie's out of the box, right?
Yeah,
You know,
and you're not putting it back in, unfortunately.
It's never going back in, right?
No,
So
the
and
loadout bros
that's
will
kind of
never
my
allow
point. And that's kind of the thing of like we can't go backwards, right? We can't go backwards because if you do, you're going to take this knowledge base that we now have with you, and we're going to approach, you know, instead of looking for a gun that looks pretty, we're going to go for the one that kills faster, right? And so I think that's just it's just a way of it's a mentality shift that has altered the way that we approach these games, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's a mentality shift for the worse, though. Just so we're
It
clear,
could be.
I think it's terrible.
And I think you could make that case. Like I think that's a case that could be made that this was, you know, this has ultimately hurt the game overall because it takes away from fun of it and makes it more focused on stuff like loadouts than on actually just playing the game, which, you know, is a whole conversation. But, you know, one thing that we do have is 30 new weapons dropping in on Friday. And
that's fucking legit, dude. I can't wait, man.
And there's some changes to this system, including always having a knife, which I think is great. That's going to be a lot of fun because, you know, there are times where it's like, you know, as we've well established, sometimes I like to be a troll in the lobby and pull out a knife and just go to town on everybody.
Bro.
Friday the 13th style.
Yeah.
The death comps are always great. But we have 30 new weapons. Smallest I think we've had at launch in a while. And I hope that they're all fun and good because I'm tired of having 50 weapons and 20 of them are trash and we never want to use them, but I have to suffer through them because I like to camo grind. But you know, we have ARs, we have SMGs that look fun. Looks like we have the C9, which will be the new MP5. Glad we have like a reasonable name on that instead of what we had before. You know, the KSV is the AK-74 looks like that's back. Some other ones that I haven't seen before. The Bison is back. And then, you know, we have limited melee. So a baseball bat and a knife, which no riot shield. So W, fuck that. I hate that thing. LMGs look pretty typical for it, right? You have the XMG LMG, which I think we had in the beta, right? Fun. That was fun if I recall. Marksman rifles, sniper rifles are back. The LW3A1 Frostline. We had that before. We had that in Cold War. That was fun. Dragunov is back.
I want my Swiss K31, man.
Yeah, we'll see if they bring that back. I'm sure they will. They brought back the other one.
Oh, that gun was so awesome.
Pistols look okay. I feel like they've gotten away from the Glock. I feel like they're not introducing anything that looks like that, which is a little disappointing.
Well, I mean, was the Glock really like? I know Glock's been around for a while, but I mean, like, I don't know that it was necessarily standard issue for a while, like in the 90s.
In the 90s,
because the Beretta 9mm was
the Beretta 9mm.
Yeah, so that was
in the
issue.
90s. I mean, in the early 90s, Glock was coming into its own. It was coming out. Like
it was
really
the FBI. I know they were using the Glock as their standard issue.
I mean, the military. I don't think the military's ever actually used the Glock.
No, I don't think so either.
Because they went from the Beretta, and then when they replaced the Beretta, they went with the SIG.
Yep.
So, but the Glock has been, you know, it's been in the military for a long time, you know, in various militaries off and on, and it's been around since then. So I assume we'll see it come back.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's always a fun one in the game. The game always makes that one fun. But yeah, no. So I think they'll do that. But yeah, the new firing range, it looks cool. I like the firing range.
I like the lighting in it. From what I saw, it looked like it's brighter, so you can see a little better.
And it has it gives you damage, right? So you can actually see how the damage hits, which is great.
Right.
The global build system. I was a little skeptical of this at first, but now I messed around. It was in the beta, and I kind of got a feel for it, and I think that's going to be a huge W now, where like if you build and save a build, right, then the if you build and save it, then it'll be if you make adjustments to it, those adjustments go to that build everywhere, right? And I didn't quite understand when they initially talked about it how that would work, but having played it, I think it's a great option, right? So it's if you want 2 versions of it, you just save 2 builds, and then it only affects the one build, right? It kind of, the initial read on it, I thought it was like, oh, if you make any change to it, all of your this you basically only get one.
It's just that save slot, right? Like,
yes,
is that what you're
yeah, the save slot.
That makes sense.
So good for that. I like it. There's the attachments. They've retooled the attachments, so optics work everywhere. Everybody gets, you unlock an optic for an SMG, you get it on all the SMGs. Same with ARs, right?
Class specific.
Everything else is specific to the gun itself. So you don't have to scroll through 7 million muzzles to find the one that you want, which I think is also a good thing. As much as I enjoy the idea of universal attachments, and I loathe the idea of having to level 70 levels to get the one attachment that I want for a gun, I recognize that adding new weapons has created a problem, right? Of that, now there are just too many attachments, and scrolling through them is a nightmare. But
and 99% of them aren't worth the shit anyway.
Mm-hmm. But now you have attachments are simplified, but I do like the optics are universal, and you can have new reticles. You can pick your own reticle. I love that. W.
Yeah, I like that too.
So I think that's going to be great. And then the statistics page, which I was looking at, is phenomenal, right? Like it's going to make it easier to understand what you're doing. And I think that's one of the things that we've struggled with for many years in Call of Duty, where it is unclear what an attachment does to your gun, right? And sometimes, they will have, the categories are so vague or so multifaceted that you could say, oh, I want to add a recoil helper, right? Something that helps recoil. And it's been unclear what it actually is doing. And so sometimes you can have attachments that will help vertical recoil, but at a massive disadvantage to initial gun kick or to other stuff. So even though when you look at it, it'll have like a green improvement box, right? But it doesn't actually, but in a lot of ways that makes it worse, right? And so they're getting rid of that system and having detailed stats on what every attachment does, which is what True Game Data has done, right? He's had to go in and manually figure this stuff out. And now they're giving it to you up front. So hopefully that doesn't put him out of business. I like Tony. I think, he's done he's done a lot. But they're putting that in there, which is phenomenal. W. And this is and this is a trend that anybody who's watching me for a long time, I want the knowledge to be as easily accessible to everybody, right? Everybody you shouldn't have to go outside the game, in my opinion, to learn basic functionality of the game. It was a problem that I had with slide canceling back in the day because you had to go out of the game and learn it somewhere. It wasn't an intended mechanic, right? And it provided a distinct advantage to people that learned how to do it. And that should have been in the game. It should have been a part of the game. They should have taught you how to do it on day one, which is what they did with Omni Movement, which was great. How to build your weapons properly is something that the information should be here in the game. Okay? And it should be available to everybody. You shouldn't have to learn COD Immunity, or you shouldn't have to learn True Game Data or SYM or learn to follow JGOD, right? Like when they make changes, that should be available to everybody. So W, I think that's a good system. All right. And it helps. It will help everybody kind of understand where they stand in things. And so I'm glad they're doing that, giving everybody the same. Everybody has the same information available to them. If they don't want to look, that's on them, right? That's your problem. But you can't say it's not there. So I think overall the weapons are good. I think that I'm excited for it. And then I know we're running long today, but the other thing I think is worth talking about is we have, they had the audio innovations. So I did a video on this earlier, but I think this is going to be a big change to not just PC players, but console players, right? Like as long as this goes through on everybody, and I believe it does, they're making some big changes, it sounds like, to the audio engine and how the audio works in the game, which is something that has the last year or two been a point of contention in the community because people on PC have significant advantages over console. And I've put a lot of work into kind of balancing that so that you can give as much of this to console as you want. And there was somebody who actually was able, so there's a method that someone posted about to bring PC audio to console through capture card. There's a whole system. I've figured it out, and it's not worth doing a video right now because I think this is going to go away. But yeah, it's the way that they're restructuring it. From what I'm reading, is they're kind of like they're putting a lot of the occlusions and a lot of the sound effects into the actual sound file, like sound waves themselves, instead of having that coded into objects, which I think is, if it works the way that they've implied that it does, is going to make a huge improvement to sound. They are also bringing spatial audio as a default audio setup into the game. And that's something we haven't had before, right? We've always, the game has always sent, it has always, the games have supported spatial audio, right? We have, they've been Dolby Atmos approved on console and on PC. And so they're encoded for spatial audio, which is why you can create that through these external apps, right? If you're on console, you can buy the Dolby app. If you are on PlayStation, you can buy the PlayStation Pulse headset, right? And that will create this virtual surround sound. If you're on PC, you get Art is War, and you get his setup, and that's what he does. That's what his setup does. It creates spatial audio. And then it really improves the sound ability, right? Your ability to hear noises and to tune for this. They're bringing that from what I've read into the game. So now it's not relying on a third-party app to create the spatial audio. That audio is native to the game. And I think that's huge. Huge. Right? Huge.
I hope they're testing it for Warzone, though, because you have a lot more factors to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit could be extremely broken. But we've discussed audio several times. And I'll say this. I have the Astro Mix Amp or whatever. I don't really have audio issues a whole lot. Like, if really ever. But I play with other people who also have the Astro Mix Amp that can't hear shit.
Well,
I just have been lucky enough to never really have audio issues. My problem is I just can't always fucking shoot straight. I mean, if I'm being real.
See, I've got a pretty good shot. I make bad decisions.
Oh, that's I do that too. I do that too.
But and this has been a big point of contention, right? Art is War has done a lot of work to create systems that make it easy to pinpoint audio, and the systems that they talk about kind of steal his thunder quite a bit and put it bake it into the game. And so I hope when this comes out, when we get to here, and this was not in the beta, right? This was what I've seen this discussed with a couple of people and questions asked. This system really wasn't in the beta. There were a few things here and there, but the spatial audio wasn't there, and there were a few other aspects. So, the fact that audio was so bad in the beta, I think makes a lot of sense because the tools that they designed it for weren't there. So I am optimistic that when this system is now in place, that we're going to have great audio. We're going to be able to hear a lot of good. The footsteps will be clearer. We'll know where they're coming from. We'll be able to see, to not be deafened by an airstrike 35 miles away.
That is a problem. I do have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that if the system works the way that they've said it works, and there's always, what you say it's going to do and what it actually does. Like, that's always a challenge, right? And if they bring it to Warzone, which I don't expect that they won't, I think, I think what they're doing right now with the way that they're handling Warzone is solves this, where they're moving it to the new launcher, right? You've noticed that it's now, it's kind of its own standalone thing, but it's still, it's still tied to the new game, right? It moves to the new game, which means it should be able to pool these things into it, which is good. It's what we want. I'm optimistic. I think they'll do good. So I think Black Ops 6 is putting itself into a good spot. It's solving a lot of problems that we've had by taking stuff that has been external to the game that the community has driven, and it's bringing it into the game and making it a part of how a fundamental part of the game, which I think is great. I think that's what we need, because it's and bringing this stuff to console, right? Because I think console gets left behind a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that is the one thing like that's always bugged me with the fact that they don't allow like the Xbox to turn cross-plat off. So being at a disadvantage back before we had FOV sliders, then you have the audio thing, and then you have to deal with the cheating side of things. And Xbox users can't turn off cross-plat. That sucks, dude. Like I hate that for them, but I'm glad this basically, it sounds to me like this is going to provide some balance between all of the platforms. So that's fantastic. And, one thing I'll tell you that this game is also doing that I'm excited about is it's bringing back a lot of my friends that stopped playing Call of Duty and Modern Warfare 2 and didn't come back for Modern Warfare 3, but they're coming back for Black Ops 6. They played the beta, and I'm excited about that. I think that's awesome. I hope that the matchmaking is the way it was in the beta, because if it is, it's going to be a good year.
Yep. And you know what? I think there's a lot more optimism right now. I mean, the whole cheating thing that happened this week aside,
yeah,
it was what it was. But no, I think there's a lot to be optimistic for. I think I think the game is going to be in a good spot. I think a lot of the improvements are. My wish list, top 3 on my wish list is I hope that between now and the integration of the new map, the new Verdansk map next year, I hope we get a lot of changes, some significant changes to Urzikstan. I hope we're not stuck on Urzikstan for the next year. I hope that the matchmaking is good, and that it's a balanced form, unlike what we have right now. And I hope that a lot of the changes that they've kind of promised that will improve things, I hope they do. I hope those things all come true.
Yeah, and to answer a question earlier, the integration for the Black Ops weapons is supposed to happen, I think, season 1, day 1, season 1.
Yes.
Into
Warzone.
And evidently we're going to be able to keep all of our weapons from, I think, even Modern Warfare 2, or is it just Modern Warfare 3, which is fucking silly to me that they're doing that, but whatever.
I don't think they're taking any I don't think they're vaulting anything.
They should. I think if they did that, it would freshen this game up a lot.
Don't disagree.
So I'm disappointed that they're not doing that, but we're also supposed to be getting big map ranked, season 1 reloaded. So hopefully they'll stand by their word for that, because I know several people that are just sick of Resurgence ranked, and we're ready for big map ranked. So hopefully we get that soon. But the other thing is too, so throughout the year, Sub and I are going to be providing content. He does a lot of great content, like videos, on his YouTube channel and those kind of things. You'll see him on Twitter. So pay attention to those. We're anything that happens in this scene, we're going to be definitely reporting on it. We appreciate all of you that download our episodes, that tune in to hear every week on Twitter, and just the overall interaction with us. And if you would jump in our Discord, man, we want to get that thing up and running. We've got some things cooking, especially with our buddy Creep from Battlefield of Duty. So looking forward to being able to roll some of those things out. Merch it is coming. Sub said it's coming. So so just some good shit that's going to be coming this year.
Awesome. Well, it's we are on the verge of greatness, we hope. I expect us next week to be back here talking about Black Ops 6 and our experiences. Like I said at the top of the episode, I'm going to be playing all day. Jay's going to be playing all day. So hopefully we'll get some play, get some time in with you guys. Don't know how much we'll be playing zombies, but we'll definitely be playing 6v6 and Love and Launch Day. I don't know. I'm not taking a trip to New Zealand this year. I don't have the time for that. That'll be live for me at midnight. Anyways, so I've got shit to do up until Thursday night, so I won't be able to play Thursday.
I heard they're doing different with that anyway. I saw something that was like, if you do that, you got to spend $60 to do that. Like you have to almost buy like a separate game. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I did see that floating around on Twitter somewhere.
Well, I think it only works for BattleNet. So if you didn't buy the game, so if you're like me and you have the Xbox One, I don't think it works. I think that's how it is.
Through the Xbox launcher. So this will be the first year that I didn't launch through BattleNet since I've been on PC. But
I won't be messing with it too much because I've got I won't be messing with that too much because I'll be I'll be doing other stuff on Thursday night and then trying to get walls. I'll have walls, I hope, behind me.
Walls in his stream room, not in the game. I'm just saying. Got to fucking clarify that.
Thank you for clarifying for those of you who aren't watching and did not see me point behind me at the construction zone that we live in.
Yeah. You can't trust anybody these days, so we got to make sure we clarify here.
Oh, and on that note, all right, I'm going to take us out of here on the jingle. Thank you everybody for popping in. We love having you every week, and again, please give this a listen to back on Spotify. Apple Podcast will be available on our YouTube channel as well if you want to look at our smiling faces as we go through it. This has been episode 57. Thank you all for all the support, and we will catch you on the next one.
Later.
Maybe it'll go. Maybe not.
There we go.